Good morning, friends. Doug Meyer here, and welcome to Morning Pause. So this morning I'm going to go over a couple of things, and it's going to sound kind of like I'm reading to you because basically I am, but then we're going to pivot and we're going to let that information kind of wash over us. Oh, and by the way, if you're brand new to Morning Pause is a little thing we've been doing it now for a while, where I sit down and talk, and sometimes it's funny, sometimes it's inspirational, motivational, confessional. But it was all designed just to invite us into a quiet place, a place to think, consider, contemplate life, faith, and all of those kind of things. So, would you agree with me that in our world, mine and yours, that we process an overwhelming amount of information and stimuli every day, all the time, around the clock, except maybe when you're tuned out or sleeping, right? Is that a fair assumption? I think it is. In the processing of that information, which is coming in rapid fire all over the place, what we know is our mind has this automatic propensity to sort information and to fill in the gaps when it's partial, incomplete, or we think we know where that story is going, so we jump ahead. Are you with me so far? All right. After that, or in that process, we have a little habit, I guess you would say, of making shortcuts to complete information. And those shortcuts are based on assumptions, previous information, learnings, knowings, experiences, so forth, and so on. And we do that all about quickness, right? All about, it's about, expediting a decision. And all of this stuff, you guys, is happening rapid fire. All right, so these shortcuts, pay attention now, are based on ingrained habits of thought that were planted in our parenting, in our cultural experiences, in our formative years education. Lastly, many of those are mistaken ideas that take root early and go unchecked. Did you get that one? They are mistaken or ill-informed ideas that take root early and go unchecked. All of that is the long version for unconscious bias. The things, the biases that we operate out of in making decisions that are coming at us right and left. In trying to understand issues like this, I oftentimes will go to elementary age curriculum and try to figure out and get my head around how are they explaining these ideas to kids these days. And I came across this curriculum for 3rd, 4th, and 5th graders in which this process was called Identifying Your Mind Bugs, MINDBUGS. I kind of like that, even for us adults. It's a little less unnerving, right? To acknowledge that we all have mind bugs. Assumptions, assertions, decisions, rules that we make up, and a lot of times based on really, really bad information. Now, juxtaposition over and against this. Why is this a big deal to me? Because I continue to grow into this notion of who is my neighbor? Who's my neighbor? Here in church world, where I work, we embrace really strongly this notion that Jesus taught us, love the Lord your God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength, and your neighbor as yourself. Well, who's my neighbor? Who's my neighbor? I don't know about you, but I got a lot of different kinds of neighbors, and I make up that I have biases for all of the neighbors in my neighborhood. That sounds a little Fred Rogerian right there. And those get in the way of meaningful relationships and authentic relationships and knowing and respecting people for who and how they really are. How about you? I'm going to throw out some topics, and you tell me if you think you might have a mind bug in one of these. And usually they start with all people who are. Do you have any around age? Young people, we have all these categories now, right? Gen X, Gen Y, Gen Z, millennials, baby boomers. We make assumptions about people based on their age, their race, their gender, their religion, their level of education. then we start getting even more ignorant about people's weight, about their language, about their hair color or hairstyle, the number of piercings they have, the number of tattoos they have. All of those could be considered mind bugs, things that get in the way of you and I knowing a person for who and how they really are. Again, I ask, why is this a really big deal? It's a big deal for me right now because I'm trying to grow to be a more thoughtful person and dismantle a lot of the mind bugs that I've carried around unconsciously for a really long time. One of the things that I would like to see us try to do with these little Thursday morning chats is be intentional about growing. Right before we went on air, I said, I'm going to try to introduce this new slogan of come grow with me. And anyway, it kind of failed. But I want you to join me. I invite you to join me in what are the areas where you need to grow. Do you have some mind bugs? Did I list any of them? Do you think you feel courageous enough this morning to be vulnerable and share some of those in the comment box? You don't have to go into it. Just say, yeah, age, race, da-da-da, da-da-da, da. Man, I have them. I'm going to close with this story the other day that really kind of got me in trouble at home. And I love her and she loves me and she gives me permission to tell stories about her. And that's my sweet wife, Wendy. So we were in the midst of navigating some plans with other people to go out to dinner. And I was being uber resistant to being the engaging person. And that was making her irritated. And she said, why don't you just call them and get this worked out? And I blurted out, and I'm just going to show my age ignorance here. I said, that's the wife's job. Oh my goodness. It just came out of me. And it identified this sexist role that I have, this rule I have, that women are supposed to take care of the social events in a married couple's life. That's the stupidest thing I ever said out loud, isn't it? Well, those mind bugs emerge. Sometimes they're like landmines. We worked through it, and I actually called the family, the couple, and made plans with them. But you know, that was, I had this resistance, and I couldn't identify it until it just literally came kind of screaming out and identifying itself out of my mouth. I bet you have some of those. Maybe you call them rules. Maybe you call them assumptions. Maybe you just call it life, everyday life. I don't know. But guys, the world's too small. At least mine is, and I want it to be that way. I want to know different people who will engage me in different ways. Man, I want to use all the colors in the crayon box. So, share, please. Be vulnerable, please. Come grow with me as we name those things going on in our life that are in the way of us living a really full, rich, and meaningful life. What do you say? You ready for it? Let's have a prayer. Creator, wow, we are interesting people, aren't we? And I, for one, carry a whole lot of stuff. My being is full of mind bugs that I would really like to identify and, if possible, remove. And I'd appreciate your help. Thank you. Amen. Hey, as always, if you get a little something out of our time together, please share it. Hey, it feels good, I'll be honest with you. If you say, hey, I like that, or, you know, I guess you could say you suck. Either way, that doesn't matter. But then share it. That's the main thing we want you to do, is pass this on to a friend who you think might benefit from this. So anyway, hope you got something out of it. Go check your mind bugs. Take care.